20 weird facts about We Were Soldiers you didn't know. Ever wonder how one Vietnam War movie dared to show honor without glorifying war? A film that looks patriotic, heroic, and traditional, but hides unbearable loss, brutal realism, historical firsts, and one of the most emotionally devastating depictions of leadership ever put on screen. This is not just a Vietnam War movie. This is not a revenge story. This is a story about duty, sacrifice, and men sent into a war no one understood, with families left behind to carry the cost. This is the story of the first major battle of the Vietnam War, and the men who walked into history without knowing it. Here are 20 intense, heartbreaking, and unbelievable facts about We Were Soldiers, 2002. And stay till the end because the final fact explains why this film still divides audiences decades later. Let's begin. Number 1. The film is based on one of the most important Vietnam War books ever written. Unlike many war films, We Were Soldiers isn't loosely inspired. It's adapted directly from the book We Were Soldiers Once and Young. The book was written by Harold G. Moore, journalist Joseph L. Galloway. This wasn't distant history. Moore commanded the battle. Galloway was there, under fire. Their goal wasn't entertainment, it was accuracy. That foundation shaped the entire film. Number 2. Mel Gibson's role was treated as sacred by the real soldiers. Casting Mel Gibson as Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore was risky. By 2002, Gibson was known for intensity, not restraint. But the real Harold Moore approved him personally. Why? Because Gibson listened. He met veterans, read letters, studied leadership manuals, and most importantly, he portrayed Moore as a responsible commander, not a glory seeker. Moore doesn't chase heroism, he absorbs it and pays for it. Veterans who served under the real Moore later said, "That's him. That's how he carried himself." That approval mattered more than box office. Number 3. The Battle of Ia Drang was the first true test of modern air warfare. The Battle of Ia Drang wasn't just another engagement, it was history-changing. It marked the first large-scale helicopter assault, the first major clash between U.S. forces and North Vietnamese army, and the beginning of modern air-mobile warfare. No one knew if it would work. Helicopters were experimental, tactics were unproven, extraction wasn't guaranteed. The soldiers weren't walking into a battle, they were walking into a theory. The film captures that uncertainty, the sense that doctrine was being written in blood. Number 4. The movie refuses to hide the cost of leadership. Lieutenant Colonel Moore makes one promise early. I will be the first to step onto the battlefield and the last to leave. That wasn't scripted heroism. That was real doctrine. The film shows leadership as responsibility, not authority, burden, not privilege. Moore doesn't shout orders for glory. He counts bodies, remembers names, writes letters. The cost of command is visible on his face. That choice separates this film from many war movies. Number 5. The battlefield scenes were designed to exhaust the actors. The Battle of Ia Drang looks chaotic because it was filmed that way. Director Randall Lawless rejected clean choreography. Actors ran through uneven terrain, carried full combat gear, repeated exhausting charges under extreme heat. There were no shortcuts. Wallace wanted fatigue to appear naturally because exhaustion is the true enemy of infantry combat. By the end of filming days, actors weren't pretending to be drained, they were physically depleted. That exhaustion shows in the performances. Men stumble, voices crack, eyes go hollow. War doesn't break you instantly, it wears you down. Number 6. The film shows the enemy as skilled, not inferior. Most Vietnam War films portray the enemy as faceless. We Were Soldiers doesn't. The North Vietnamese army is disciplined, strategic, and fearless. Their commanders are competent, their soldiers are committed, their losses matter. This choice was controversial. Some audiences expected clear moral framing. Instead, the film presents combat as mutual devastation. There are no monsters here, just men obeying orders on both sides. That balance is rare in war cinema. Number 7. The broken arrow scene was historically accurate and terrifying. One of the most shocking moments in the film is the call for artillery on American positions. Broken arrow meant we are about to be overrun. Calling it meant risking your own men. Lieutenant Colonel Moore made that call in real life. The film doesn't dramatize it with speeches. It presents it as a grim calculation: save the unit or lose everyone. That moment captures the brutal math of warfare. There is no winning choice, only survival. Number 8. The film shows death without music on purpose. Notice what's missing in the battle scenes: music. There are long stretches with gunfire, screams, and silence afterward. Director Randall Wallace deliberately withheld score during deaths. Why? Because music can soften loss. It can tell you how to feel. Here, death arrives unannounced, unscored, final. The absence of music makes each loss feel heavier. There's no emotional cushion, only reality. Number 9. Many veterans said the film triggered real trauma. After release, veterans' responses were intense. Some praised the film's honesty, others couldn't finish it. Why? Because it felt familiar. The confusion, the noise, the waiting between attacks. Psychologists later noted the film accurately depicted combat stress, sensory overload, and survivor's guilt. This wasn't entertainment for everyone. For some, it was memory. That reaction speaks to the film's power and its danger. Number 10. Brotherhood is shown as survival, not sentiment. Many war films romanticize brotherhood. We Were Soldiers treats it as necessity. Men don't bond through speeches. They bond through shared fear, shared exhaustion, shared responsibility. Soldiers drag the wounded without hesitation. They cover each other instinctively. They remember names because forgetting isn't allowed. This isn't friendship, it's dependence. If one man breaks, the line collapses. That's why the relationships feel urgent. They're not emotional decoration, they're structural support. Number 11. Casualties are relentless because the battle was. The film doesn't space out deaths. They come in waves. One moment of calm, then sudden loss, then another. This pacing isn't cinematic choice, it's historical reality. Ia Drang was a grinding engagement. There was no clean arc, no pause to grieve. The film refuses to slow down for mourning because the soldiers couldn't either. That relentlessness is why the movie feels overwhelming. War doesn't respect emotional processing. Number 12. Patriotism is present but never simplified. The film respects service. It honors sacrifice, but it never claims the war was justified. That distinction confused audiences. Some expected political commentary, clear condemnation, or triumphant nationalism. Instead, the film focuses on duty without judgment. The soldiers didn't choose the war. They chose to stand by each other. That nuance angered some critics and earned respect from others. It's patriotism without propaganda. Number 13. The wives scenes were included to show the hidden battlefield. The film cuts away from combat, not to rest, but to another front, the home front. Wives wait, phones ring, uniformed messengers arrive. Director Randall Wallace insisted on these scenes. Why? Because war doesn't stop at the battlefield. It spreads outward. The wives' grief mirrors the soldiers' fear. Different setting, same helplessness. Loss doesn't need bullets to be real. Number 14. The film refuses a clear moral resolution. At the end, there is no victory speech. The battle ends, but the war continues. The film acknowledges a truth many movies avoid. Ia Drang was only the beginning. The tactics used here shaped years of conflict. The cost multiplied. The soldiers survived, but history didn't improve. That refusal to resolve morally is unsettling, but it's honest. Number 15. The ending focuses on grief, not victory. Most war films end with triumph. We Were Soldiers ends with silence. The battle is over, but there's no celebration. Bodies are counted, names are read, loss settles in. The camera doesn't linger on flags or medals. It lingers on faces that will never be the same. That ending choice shocked audiences because survival isn't framed as victory, it's framed as burden. The men who lived must carry the memory of those who didn't. 16. The film was criticized for being too traditional and defended for it. Some critics labeled the film old-fashioned, too respectful, and too focused on honor. They expected cynicism, they expected anger. Instead, the film chose discipline and restraint. Veterans pushed back. They argued the film wasn't naive, it was accurate. Not every soldier questions the war mid-battle. Some just fight to protect the person next to them. That debate still surrounds the film, and that tension keeps it relevant. 17. Military academies still use the film as a teaching tool. Despite controversy, We Were Soldiers is shown in officer training programs, leadership courses, and military ethics classes. Why? Because it depicts command responsibility, decision-making under pressure, and moral weight of leadership. Lieutenant Colonel Moore isn't perfect. He makes impossible calls, but he owns them. That accountability is rare in cinema and invaluable in training. 18. The film quietly challenges the myth of control in war. One of the film's most unsettling truths: no one is in full control. Plans fail, coordinates shift, air support misses, men get lost. Commanders adopt, but they never dominate chaos. The film suggests war isn't about mastery, it's about response. That humility separates it from propaganda. 19. The movie's legacy grew stronger with time. At release, reactions were mixed. Over time, reassessment changed perception. Audiences recognized its emotional honesty, its respect for both sides, its refusal to simplify loss. As Vietnam War narratives matured, We Were Soldiers gained renewed appreciation. It wasn't trying to explain the war, it was trying to remember it correctly. 20. We Were Soldiers is ultimately about responsibility, not war. Strip away weapons, uniforms, and tactics. What remains? Men responsible for other men, leaders responsible for lives, families responsible for memory. The film isn't asking, was the war right? It's asking, what does it mean to be responsible for others in impossible circumstances? That question doesn't age, and that's why the film endures. We Were Soldiers wasn't made to glorify combat, it wasn't made to rewrite history, and it wasn't made to comfort audiences. It was made to remember, to honor duty without lies, to show courage without illusion, and to remind us that leadership costs more than it gives. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most emotionally grounded war films ever made, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the most important war stories aren't about winning, they're about carrying the weight afterward.